Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We are in the presence of many faith leaders and representatives of every level of government, including the Honorable Ahmed Hussein, Minister of Immigration, Refugees, and Citizenship, the Honorable Andrew Scheer, and City Councilor Joe Mahevik, who is a real friend to Holy Blossom Temple. I was not surprised when we gathered around the Imdadul Islamic Center that cold February day. I wasn't surprised that these rings of peace took shape around so many mosques across the city and in other cities in our country and beyond. I wasn't surprised how we knew instinctively how to join hands and form a human chain that day. And then we did what Jews do. In a circle, we started to move like a silent, somber hora. Our ring of peace took motion. And I wasn't surprised then, and I'm not surprised today, by the crescent moon of peace around our sanctuary, because people are good. Most people are very good. That human chain, I remember we were like children then, in a nursery rhyme, returning to a clarity about what is right and wrong as children have. We return to a sensitivity of what is fair and what is not fair, the way children know so well. We return to a simplicity in our expressions of love, as children have, and a purity in our sincere and impulsive expressions of that love. When Osman Khan called me, he said, "Rabbi, we're not reciprocating. This is our religious duty. It's the humanitarian thing to do." I think this is a very important teaching, actually. It's an important distinction. This isn't a transaction. This isn't reciprocating one act for another, and now we're square. This is instead two religious peoples, many religious peoples, in fact, doing what is right, doing what is just, doing what is righteous, doing what is good, because it is our religious and our civic duty to do so. B'makom she'en anashim hishtadel lihiyot ish. Our ancient sage Hillel in the 1st century taught, in a place which is absent of humanity, strive to be human. There have been moments this week where we wondered, where has humanity gone? Hishtadel lihiyot ish, strive to be human. Hillel is honest with us there, saying it isn't always easy to be human. You have to strive. You have to stretch beyond your comfort zone. You have to try in ways that are sometimes hard. It takes time and patience to be human. It requires attention and careful consideration. And it can even be expensive to be human, to do what is humane. It can mean giving something up of our own for the sake of a stranger. And this isn't always easy, but it is right. At the center of our Torah scroll, Akiva taught at the very kernel of the Torah is the mitzvah, ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, love your neighbor as yourself. We say it often, we hear it often, but what does it mean, and is it even possible to love someone else as you love yourself? Our sages teach that God would never command what is beyond human capacity, So what does it mean, ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha? The German Jewish philosopher Hermann Cohen suggests that we add a comma. And because in the Torah there is no punctuation, this is fair game. Ve'ahavta l'reacha, comma, kamocha. Love your neighbor, comma, who is like you. That is, once you see in your neighbor a fellow human being who is like you, with the same needs and the same desires as you have, then love can follow. Once you acknowledge that every human being is like you, created in the image of God, then love can flow more naturally. We have to practice. B'makom she'en anashim, in a place, in a time where it feels humanity is lacking, hishtadel lehiyot ish, we must strive to be human. A few words to the Jews among us in particular. At this holy place, in this sacred hour, in this sanctuary, we take sanctuary from the pain of the world outside. Here we create sanctuary for one another by lightening each other's burdens and sorrows, simply by being here, by being together. Here we find sanctuary in one another, and we remember who we are. We reinforce for one another that we are Jews. We walk through the world with many identities and many names. We identify ourselves as Canadians, and we are proud to make our homes in this good country and to add to its greatness and its goodness. We identify ourselves as Torontonians as we help to build up this world-class city. We identify ourselves by our professions and the work we do, by our volunteerism and the good that we do. And there are many other layers of our identity, but what I'm hearing these days is that at the core, even in ways that might surprise us, we see ourselves as Jews. All of the names and titles we may go by, of all of them, the most powerful that cuts through the millennia and gets us right where we live is Jew. I am Yael, bat Harav Moshe v'Zahava Leah. What is your name? Frightening times are made less frightening when we know who we are. Dark days are less dark when we know where we come from and to whom we belong. So I invite you now, call up in your memory, what is your Jewish name? And you might even say it out loud. Say it out loud. You know who you are, you know where you come from, you know to whom you belong, you know for whom you are named, you know the values and the character traits of those who walked before you. Knowing who we are, returning to our core, can be steadying at a time like this. And that is why we have come this Shabbat, to steady ourselves, to come to a synagogue, to take up a prayer book in our hands, to see that ancient Torah scroll held before our very eyes, to fill our mouths with song, and to sit shoulder to shoulder with fellow Jews and those who would come in solidarity to support us. We can walk through this rough world with our heads held high because we know our names. We can walk with confidence not because we know the answers to the riddles of this baffling world, but because we know our place in it. We know our duty within it. My name is also Yael bat Avraham v'Sarah. each one of us a daughter of Abraham and Sarah. Our Torah reading is called Chaye Sarah, the life of Sarah, our matriarch, and yet she dies in the first few verses. And Abraham, our patriarch, dies in the last few verses. So why is this called Chaye Sarah, the life of Sarah? Because although these bookends are about death of that first generation of Jews, all the verses in between, all those chants, all that poetry in between is about the establishment of the next generation. Today we tap into that strength behind us and we draw courage from those who walked before us. Alas, they witnessed the worst of what humanity can bring to bear. And they saw the great glories of what can be accomplished. And they endured it all. Today we draw upon the resilience and the brilliance that is our Jewish inheritance. Today we also look to our Israeli brothers and sisters and we marvel at their fortitude, how they soldier on in the cafes and discotheques, in the city squares of protest, and in the supreme courts of law. And we see the optimism in how they bring large Jewish families into the world. Bringing a Jewish baby into the world is an act of faith, a mitzvah if we can take it up. This week, 2 babies were born into our congregation. It is a sign of faith in the Jewish future. I acknowledge that many are frightened, not frozen by fear, but rather startled into action. And that is a good and a healthy response to terror. There are 2 responses, after all: fight and flight. We can either lean into Jewish life or run away from it. I can say about you who are gathered today, we aren't going anywhere. We are leaning into Jewish life. We will fight this growing anti-Semitism and we will overcome it because we lean in to Jewish learning. We draw our children closer to Torah, and we ourselves devote ourselves to lifelong learning. We will fight this anti-Semitism by dancing a hora at a Jewish wedding. This week, a bride let me know that she's decided, together with her groom and their families, to take their wedding from outside the synagogue into the synagogue, to show that they are not afraid and that this is where they belong as they establish a new family unit. And we will build. We are building. We will fight this anti-Semitism by leaning into Jewish life, expanding our ranks. Our membership is growing, thank God. And these beautiful spaces will soon be dedicated, and we'll celebrate together when we light that first candle of Hanukkah. And we will fight this growing anti-Semitism with our Muslim sisters and our Christian brothers, with Canadians who choose no faith, with our government officials who have been calling all week. I want you to know that. We will fight this anti-Semitism and find greater security with the heroes of our police and fire services. God bless them. We will overwhelm this thread of hate and put it back where it belongs, in the dark corners and the shadows underground. There will always be some cowardly and confused people who choose to be hateful. We know that. That's the way of the world. We know it better than most. We cannot deny that if a hateful man gets his hands on an ugly gun, he can do a lot of damage. In Quebec City, in Charleston, in Kentucky, in Paris, in Pittsburgh, in Jerusalem. It seems somewhere someone has given permission for hate to percolate and to well up to the surface and express itself openly in the light of day. Even in our own city, Steve Bannon was invited like an honored guest, given a dignified platform and a very loud microphone to magnify his hateful tropes. Why? Did he start a movement, as he claims, or was it just a moment, a strange and dark moment in this recent history? We will soon find out. We'll learn more come Tuesday. God willing, we'll be able to close the book on this strange chapter of history. Yes, it seems somewhere someone has given permission. Racism, Islamophobia, homophobia, xenophobia, and anti-Semitism are on the rise. Since these deadly attacks in Pittsburgh, synagogues have been defaced from Fresno, California, to Brooklyn, New York. If we can't be in our synagogues as Jews, then where can we? If we can't be Jewish in our Jewish state of Israel, then where can we? The message from some, it seems, is don't be. Just don't be. But we reject that soundly. I admit to you, with mixed emotion actually, that last spring, under the cover of darkness, another hateful man took up a metal bar and struck two of our stained glass windows, again and again and again. It's on videotape, though we never saw his face. Such force and such anger that the lead frames of these historic and beautiful windows on the world were warped, and the glass was damaged so badly they needed to be removed and brought to artists off-site for restoration. We went to the police, but we did not go to the press. We didn't even go to the congregation. I'm not sure if that was the right decision, but I want to explain it. We did not want to give that vandal any power or satisfaction in seeing his damage described in print. And further, of course, we didn't want to encourage any copycat crimes, God forbid. And so we kept it quiet. It's taken months to restore these beautiful windows. Soon they will be returning in time for the commemoration next week of Kristallnacht, just when we will mark the 79th anniversary of the Night of Broken Glass, which marked the beginning and the near end for German Jewry. Something will be restored here. Something will be made right again. Something will be put back into place. That shattered glass will be restored. This beautiful facade, which faces Bathurst Street, built in 1937-38, when anti-Semitism was fierce in this country. Our forebears built a grand facade with a clear message to the city and beyond, saying, we're not afraid, we're not going anywhere, Canada is our home, we will contribute to it, we will make it better, and two lions of Judah will stand watch and guard us. And those heavy oak doors will be locked tight. And that message for its time was very brave and very bold. And we are the inheritors of that message. But that is not the only message that we can dream today. Because we are building a new entrance, which is made all of glass. Like a lantern, it will shine so brightly that everyone, Jews and those who choose to be with us, will be drawn towards it. All of glass, not fragile, Not at risk either, I want you to know, but transparent and clear. And those new doors that are being built exactly now will be inscribed with the 4 blessings of Shabbat. Shalom Aleichem, Boachem L'Shalom, Barchuni L'Shalom, Tzeitchem L'Shalom. Peace be upon you. Come in peace. Bless us with your peace, and may you go on your way in peace. This is our message. This is our openness and our embrace to Canada and the world. This is what we are building together. I've read the words of someone who survived the attack from Tree of Life congregation. She wrote, "Our ark is riddled with bullet holes now, but it is not destroyed. When we opened the doors, the 3 Torah scrolls inside miraculously were unharmed. The crown of one of the scrolls has sustained some minor damage, and the doors of the ark will need to be replaced, but it is as if those Torah scrolls were untouched." Just moments ago, we serenaded our Torah, and we sang to it as Jews throughout the Jewish world this Shabbat have serenaded Torah scrolls from all over the lands with the words, Eitz chaim hi lemachazikim ba, v'tom cheha me'ushar. It is a tree of life to those who hold fast to it. It is a tree of life to all who cling to it. They are contented by it. Its ways are ways of noam, of pleasantness, and its paths are paths of shalom. This is the Torah we will cling to. This is the Torah whose eternal wisdom instructs us to love our neighbor as ourselves. And this is the people that we will hold fast to. This people whose resilience endures and endures age after age. And this is the faith we will cling to, even in our hour of sorrow. And this is the God that we will hold fast to, even when we suffer without knowing why. The ways of our Torah are ways of joy and comfort. May all who walk in her paths know only enduring peace. Amen.